Cincinnati is fourth. The first.
The Early Line with Mario and Musso. Mario and Musso have your early line on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I mean, we're just here to have fun and win and have fun by winning.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, here's Mario Jerez and Matt Musso.
And a good Wednesday afternoon. Welcome in. Matt Musso alongside Mario Jerez. We have your early lines. Got Michael, got Taylor on the audio and video boards as well along for the ride. Mario, man, a jam-packed show to get to today. Bowl games. One on right now. Got the New Era Pinstripe Bowl played in Yankee Stadium. Virginia Tech trailing Maryland 7-0 early in the second quarter. Virginia Tech has the New York Yankees logo on one side of their helmet, which obviously that's enough for you to deserve to lose anyway. But I digress. What's more important is we have a lot of LSU to get to today. Brian Kelly doing work once again, announces Matt House as defensive coordinator last night. Robert Steeples as a defensive assistant announced earlier this morning. We'll dive into both of those hires. And, of course, Will Wade and LSU basketball. They are on the floor, 6 p.m. tip tonight in the Jungle Auburn Arena for a top 16 matchup to open SEC play with plenty on the line. LSU right now a 4.5-point underdog in that. How are you?
I'm awesome, Musso. As you said, lots to break down. We got a big basketball game tonight, LSU and Auburn. We have some bowl games on deck as well, and the Pelicans got an unexpected win last night, so I'm in a very good mood, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mario. I'm doing well. Let's start with LSU football. Let's start with Matt House. This has been long awaited, right? The coordinator hires. You'd seen him bring in Kerry Cooks. Okay, they're going to retain Brad Davis. The big splash to this point was bringing back Frank Wilson to LSU, but everyone kept having an eye on the coordinator search, both offensive and defensive coordinators, and there's a little bit of angst, right? You head into the early signing period. You don't have those guys in place. People are wondering, is it going to hurt you? It didn't. I mean, you ended up landing Quincy Wiggins on the offensive defensive side. You end up with 13 signees there. Keep Walker Howard in the boat. Oh, yeah, we all know how that played out. That worked fine. Now you get into the dead period. It's like, hey, we still need these coordinators in place. Now you have one of them. Matt House. He was long rumored for this spot. Linebackers coach for the Kansas City Chiefs will join LSU after the Chiefs season ends. So that will either be after they hoist the Lombardi Trophy or when they're eliminated from the playoffs. January or mid-February is when you'll see Matt House. But what's important is he's in the boat. And on the surface, man, this looks like a phenomenal hire for Brian Kelly.
I agree. I'm pumped. I think this is a great hire for Brian Kelly. And we know that they went after Brad White originally, Kentucky's current defensive coordinator. Couldn't get him to come to Baton Rouge. So they went after Kentucky's former defensive coordinator. Before Brad White, it was House, and he had some success at Kentucky, Musso. I remember that 2018 defense with Cash Daniels. That team went 10-2, which over there was a huge deal. That was the best season Kentucky football had in a really long time, and he had some success there, and he had some success with the Chiefs as well as an assistant. And this time, this is a guy that people were trying to hire. Last season, 2 schools had interest in him, and I believe it was Tennessee and Auburn, 2 SEC schools.
Tennessee for sure, and they threw a boatload of money at him.
So this is a guy that was trying to be hired by other people. This is a guy that has called plays on the college level before, so it already looks like a little bit more of a responsible hire, at least on the surface. But I do agree with you. The track record is there, and we'll see how he fits in at LSU, but he's taken over a really talented defense, and I think he's going to have a lot of success.
And obviously, you can look at the resume and see the success he's had at Kentucky, the success he's had, in Kansas City, the success he's had at FIU, at Pitt. You can look at all of that and get really excited. But, Mario, it's the same thing we talked about when LSU hired Frank Wilson. What are current or former players of his saying? And the one that made the biggest splash was from a current player of Matt House's, but a former LSU Tiger, and that's Kansas City Chiefs safety Tyrann Mathieu, who quote tweeted the LSU announcement last night saying, quote, "I'm excited for Coach House and all of Tiger Nation. This man loves football and teaching. One of the best I've been around. This Tiger defense will be well coached from day one. Let's all buy in. Forever LSU." That is a ringing endorsement. And if you clicked on that tweet, if you just scrolled through your timeline, knowing most of you follow a lot of LSU accounts, you saw this sentence. If Honey Badger likes it, it's good enough for me. And look, that's a ringing endorsement from arguably the best defensive player in LSU history.
Yeah, and hopefully House has some respect right off the bat for his players that, had to adjust to a whole lot. They lost Corey Raymond, who they thought really highly of. But like you said, if Tyrann Mathieu is given that endorsement, that's a pretty good endorsement. And they have to feel good about not just the endorsement from Tyrann, but the track record that we were talking about. And you mentioned his time in Kentucky being impressive. Remember the players that got drafted from that group, Moose. So these guys played for Matt House. Josh Allen from the Jaguars, Lonnie Johnson, who was a second-round pick, and the third-round pick in Mike Edwards. That 2018 Kentucky defense ranked number 6 in the nation in points allowed per game, and they held opponents to 14 points or less 6 times. So like I said, that was a very memorable season in Lexington. And then as far as Kansas City goes, maybe it's hard to judge success as a linebackers coach, like as a positional coach, but he is a Super Bowl champion. And like I said, Tyrann Mathieu apparently liked playing for him. Not just that, this is a guy that had to practice, or his players had to practice against an offense that was led by Brian Benamy and Andy Reid, and the players like Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill that they had to defend every single day is going to make for a pretty good group. So you would think that right off the bat, he has a lot of respect from his players.
This is what I'll say overall about Matt House is whether it's Kentucky, whether it's Pittsburgh, whether it's the Carolina Panthers where he spent a year early in his career, whether it's FIU, Kansas City Chiefs, wherever he goes, success follows. Whether it's directly tied to him and his defense or his linebacker group, he's around success everywhere he goes, and that's very important. When he spent a year with the Carolina Panthers in 2008, they won the NFC South and were 12-4. At the Kansas City Chiefs, he's been to 2 Super Bowls and won one. At Pittsburgh, coaching players like Aaron Donald, his defense helped lead Pittsburgh to 2 bowl wins in 3 seasons. At Kentucky, 3 years there, 2 as the defensive coordinator, 1 as a special teams coordinator and linebackers coach. The first year he's defensive coordinator, Kentucky's not great defensively. They gave up 28 points per game. It was rough. But 1 year later, the year you're talking about, 2018, the turnaround is stark and success followed. 10-2, 6th in the country in scoring defense. They were top 20 in the nation in total defense. Success follows him wherever he goes, and it's because of him in most instances. And that is a reason to get extremely excited about the Matt House hire.
Yeah, and the blend of college experience and NFL experience as well is really interesting. And that's kind of a concern, I guess, for most people. Maybe not call it a concern, but what is his ultimate motivation? Does he want to be a head coach in college? Does he want to be a coordinator in the NFL? Which, despite his resume being impressive so far, he has not done that. So I don't know if he eventually wants to go back to the NFL, but I also don't think that's a deal breaker when you're making decisions like this, Musso. And it'll be interesting to see if he has success early. But like I said, Brian Kelly was going to have a list. He was going to have a process. And the first guy did not work out, the current Kentucky defensive coordinator and Brad White, but this is a guy that has just as good, if not a better track record. And this is a hire that the fan base is going to get behind. But like I said, he's taking over a new group. They're going to have to adjust to a lot. Let's see what happens. But on the surface, it looks like a really, really good hire.
Oh, on the surface, I think it's a great hire. I think it's an all-star hire on the surface. And to your point, it is interesting. You look at his career track and you try to, that's always, especially at a school like LSU, right? That's always something you're trying to figure out is, okay, well, what's the next step for this coach? LSU is not necessarily a stepping stone job in the conventional sense. It's more of a job that can pole vault you to greater success, to a head coaching position. Look at Dave Aranda, obviously, is your most recent example there of a coordinator. But even so, look at somebody like Joe Brady, who I know didn't end great in Carolina, but he parlayed a passing game coordinator job at LSU into an NFL OC. It takes you to that next level. So in a way, yes, stepping stone, but not in the conventional sense that you think. So obviously that's always a conversation as, okay, well, what's the end goal for whoever you're bringing in? When you look at somebody like Matt House and you look at kind of where he's been, all roads have always kind of led back to the NFL. Just based off resume, a few short stints early on in his career in college, then the first job with the Carolina Panthers, a year there, and then goes to the Rams for 3 years, and then is back in college at Pitt, FIU, Kentucky, and then back to the NFL. So, yeah, I mean, there's certainly something there he's looking for. He hasn't been in a lot of places long, but that's fine. Ultimately that's what you want as the norm at LSU now, because that means you're hiring good coaches. That's going to lead to a lot of success on the field. How often do coordinators stay at Alabama? I know that's always the example thrown out, and they're the the standard and whatnot, but even Georgia in there, Ryan Day gets to replace coordinators. Clemson's replacing both coordinators now after the end of this season. They've already started that process. Dabo promoted from within. That's the hallmark of a good program. So, yeah, maybe you down the road think about, okay, where is he trying to end up? And certainly from his resume, all signs have always pointed back to the NFL, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Right now, he's an LSU Tiger. He's a major factor in Brian Kelly's staff right now, and man, it's a great hire.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call a job on the staff a stepping stone, but I think based on the context we're seeing, it's clear that a coaching job at LSU is held in really high regard, because think about it, Tennessee, Auburn, two schools with a lot of unknown going into last season. You could argue, both of them with the first-year head coach, maybe they're going in a better direction, but he didn't want to leave that job, right? He didn't want to leave his assistant job in the NFL to be a coordinator for either one of those schools. LSU is also coming off 2 straight 500 seasons. This is a 6-6 football team that did not play well the last couple of years, but he sees the vision. He sees the power of that position at LSU. And like we said, we don't know what his motivation is, but he does thinking coming to LSU is going to help him get there. And he did not hold the jobs at Tennessee and at Auburn in the same regard.
Right. So, okay, stepping stone again. That's the word that came to mind. It's not at all what I meant. Springboard. How about that? That's more of what LSU is. It springboards you up. Dave Aranda's a college head coach. Joe Brady was a NFL coordinator. Even Matt Canada, I guess that didn't end up great here at LSU, but he left LSU and went to the NFL and is now an offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So just to use that as an example, that's kind of where you get it. Springboards you to where you want to be a college head coach. That's the next step from here. You want to be an NFL coordinator. That's potentially the next step from here. But all of that's down the road in the future. The more important part is he's an LSU Tiger. It's a great resume. You can expect a lot of success on defense for LSU with Matt House at the helm. Yeah,
like we said, on the surface, the last 2 coordinator hires, you kind of had to talk yourself into. You kind of had to bring in a hope element to talk about them potentially having success at LSU. You don't have to do that with Matt House. Matt House has had success, like you said, everywhere he's gone, as a play caller, as an assistant, and Brian Kelly thought that he was the next best step. I really like the organization that we've seen throughout this search, Musso, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the offensive coordinator, although we've definitely heard some names, but we are getting some clarity in this, and that's good to see as LSU goes into year 1 of Brian Kelly at the helm.
Clarity for sure. Now, again, it wasn't just Matt House. That was announced last night. Earlier this morning, it was announced that Robert Steeples is joining Brian Kelly's staff as a defensive assistant coach. Steeples, currently an assistant special teams coach for the Minnesota Vikings. Like House, will join LSU once the Vikings season ends, which could be on the last day of the regular season, January 9th in the NFL. Steeples is a defensive back by trade. He was a standout cornerback at Missouri and at Memphis, was undrafted into the NFL as a cornerback, ended up spent time with the Vikings, the Rams, and the Chiefs, I believe. I can double check that. I'm sorry. The Vikings, the Chiefs, Dallas, and he went undrafted to the Rams, and then got into coaching. No college experience, which is interesting, but plenty of high school experience and plenty of successful high school experience. He jumped straight from being a high school head coach to the NFL. Day Summit Jesuit High School, tongue twister that probably really shouldn't have been one, but was, turned that place into a powerhouse. His first year, they were 2-8. In 2016, by 2019, a state champion, 29-4, a combined record to close it out, 20-game winning streak, had the team ranked as high as number 8 in the country, and then took the role with the Minnesota Vikings. It stands to reason, him being a cornerback, you would imagine he's going to have some role coaching DBs at LSU. You say, well, wait a minute, Moose, Kerry Cooks. Well, you remember reports abound when Cooks was hired. That threw into the influx with Corey Raymond. What's going to happen to Corey Raymond? And the report was Brian Kelly traditionally has had 2 defensive back coaches on his staff. So you might see a tandem effort here with Steeples and Kerry Cooks, whether that's what you saw with Raymond and Bill Bush, one coaching one coaching corners, one coaching safeties, or one over the entire DBs and one as maybe an assistant DBs coach. That remains to be seen. Kelly's going to get everyone, all the staff compiled, then divvy out those roles, but you have 10 on-field assistant roles, and Steeples is a young up-and-comer at 32 years old, and certainly looks like a really good hire for his first college job.
Yeah, so the second half of the last season, a big narrative was what's going to be next. Who is going to stay on this staff? Because we know that Coach O is not And an answer from a lot of people was the new coach is going to have new dominion. He's going to bring in whoever he wants, and there's not going to be any kind of ultimatum to keep anybody currently on staff. But we've arrived this far, Musso, and I think the only position coach job that's still open is the defensive line. And I'm going to say that I think
on defense,
excuse me. And I'm going to say that I think Andre Carter did a really good job this past season. I think he could be a successful coach, but I don't think they're keeping anybody else from this past staff. I think it's very clear that Brian Kelly has his guys. He has a process to find them, and we're going to continue to see that progress.
That certainly seems the direction they're heading, yes. Brad Davis, so far the only retained staff member. LSU and Brian Kelly have filled out 6 staff spots. So far they have 4 remaining, including offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach, and you'll have that other that 10th assistant spot as well that you can play with. So Matt House in the boat as defensive coordinator. Robert Steeples in the boat as a defensive assistant. All signs kind of point towards some type of role with the defensive backs. What's next? Well, possibly Mike Denbrock. We can talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Right now we're due for a break, a little bit late. More LSU talk next as Will Wade, the Wade Brigade, the general, leading the troops into the jungle tonight to face Auburn, 6 p.m. tip. That'll be on ESPN2, top 16 matchup. Give you a preview and a pick on the game when we return here on Early Line, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Mario and Musso, the Early Line. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Yo, you can listen to 104.5 ESPN.
Care for our communities. We thank you. We will never forget the countless hours you dedicated on the front lines, choosing to risk your own health to fight for our friends, neighbors, and family members.
I mean, you guys are out on the front lines fighting it.
We are grateful for your heroic acts and unwavering spirit. Together, we are overcoming this adversity and make our state healthier and more vibrant again. Ochsner Health.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Yo, Jake here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic. The place is going to be convenient for you during that inconvenient time, and it's even more convenient now. Now you have 8 convenient locations, with the Bruley location just opening up. So go check them out online, patientplusuc.com, because remember, they are your place for your sniffles, for your colds, for your stitches, for your COVID tests. They have all that available over at Patient Plus. For more information, visit them at patientplusuc.com. Get in and get better.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Rufino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to LA Contract.
Recap LSU Auburn. Did the guys get it done? We'll also preview a massive game for the women, plus the latest in the LSU and Saints news cycle, and a brand new Munchies with Chef Michael Johnson. Off the bench, 104.5 ESPN.
Early line with Mario and Musso. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The LSU men's basketball team opens up SEC play tonight. Big game, 6 o'clock tip inside of Auburn Arena. LSU is 12-0. Auburn is 11-1 in the pre-conference schedule. Auburn currently a 4.5-point favorite. The Auburn Tigers opened as a 4-point favorite. The total in this game is set at 143.5 after it opened at 140. Both of these programs have come a long way, Musso. In my opinion, the last few years under Bruce Pearl and under Will Wade, I think that this is a really hot ticket because right now I'm looking at StubHub, and the cheapest tickets available right now for this game are $110, which for a college basketball game in late December, I feel like that's a really hefty price tag. So this is going to be a really good environment. It's going to be a really good game. How do you feel about LSU's chances?
Well, I mean, look, to your point on the environment, Will Wade said yesterday that that he's had to tell family that they can't find tickets for them. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be raucous inside of the jungle, and that's a very hard place to play. Thoughts on the game? I think it's going to be very hotly contested. I think Auburn presents a really tough matchup for LSU, even made tougher by having to play it on the road. It's not the be-all, end-all. It's one SEC game of 18, but, man, we kind of talked about it yesterday. For an opener, it's got about as much riding on it, I think, as you possibly can. This is right around where we expected the line to be. We talked about it with Rafael Esparza yesterday before it was out, and he said it'll be the first time LSU's an underdog, put it somewhere in between 3.5, 4. It opened at 4. Now bet up to 4.5. LSU at 4.5, 4, if you can get it. I like that play. I think it's going to be probably anywhere between a 2 and 3 point game. So I do like that. Just on the surface, I'd also say go under as well for what it's worth. LSU's 10-2 to the under this year. Auburn is 6-6 to the total, so it's even with them. That's kind of some picks. Here's why. LSU has to get off to a fast start in this game. That's something that they have not been great at this season. You're now doing it in your first true road environment, and it is going to be pretty hellacious in there. Will Wade's talked about all week whenever asked about the environment. Xavier Pinson, Darius Days. Those are the only two guys who've actually experienced what real SEC basketball is on the road.
Everybody else only got cutouts.
Then those two guys have to get you off to the fast start. We compared it to the Lipscomb game yesterday, and I know it's not apples to oranges. I get it, but bear with me. LSU offensively has been getting off to slow starts regardless of who they're playing. Against Lipscomb, Pinson, LSU wins the tip. Pinson takes it up, finds Darius Days on the wing, three-pointer, game set, LSU's off. It's contagious. You need that to happen. LSU wins the tip in that building, it's going to be going nuts. You create something like that, it's going to put a bit of a hush over it early. That's what you need. You need those two to be your leaders. Tari Eason will be a full go and ready to go in this game. That's massive. That's a guy who has been so good when you look at it. Mario is second in the SEC in field goal percentage. That's how effective he's been. That's just scoring. That's not counting what he's done protecting the rim with the block shots or his length, creating steals and getting his own runouts, really flipping the game on his head. Let Pinson, let Days get you off to the fast start. Let Tari Eason do what he does. Hopefully that's enough offensively. Defensively for LSU, what have we said all week? Defense travels, right? Is LSU going to hold Auburn to under 60? Absolutely not. Is LSU going to be able to keep this game in the 60s? I don't believe so, and neither does Will Wade. He mentioned 70 points a lot. Get to 70 points, get to 70 points. This is how I think LSU does. You know, I know. They like to play a lot of inside-out ball. LSU's got to play inside this game. It's not going to be an easy task with Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler, but get those guys and see if you can get those big guys in foul trouble. Get to the line. LSU is the best free throw shooting team in the SEC based on percentage. You can get to 70 in this game at the line, but you have to be able, and plus you get those guys in foul trouble, hopefully. Use that to your advantage. Get to the line. Use that to your advantage. See if you can't get to 70 that way.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Like you said, Auburn, just like LSU, has been really, really good defensively. They're number one in the nation in block rate, so that might affect them not fouling and keeping LSU off of the free throw line. But LSU does need to play inside out. That being said, they also need to try to get out and run when they're able to and try to turn those stops into some easy transition baskets. And the key to this game, Musso, is going to be the start. I agree with what you said. You can't let that place get too rowdy, and the way you get off to a good start is you take care of the ball, you ultimately control the crowd, and you don't be a hero. That might be a little bit later in the game, but LSU really needs to try to play within the framework that they've been playing in. Move the ball around. Like you said, play inside out. Trust one another. You can't have guys trying to be a hero, trying to do a little bit too much. That's going to result in negative plays, and that's going to result in Auburn making some runs. And I think this is going to be a game of runs. I think this is going to be a game that's really back and forth. Two teams that have played a pretty good schedule so far, but are still trying to kind of find themselves when it comes to certain aspects of their team. I do think LSU will at least cover the spread. I don't think they'll win outright, but I think it'll go over just because these two defenses, as good as they've been, have not seen the athletes, the caliber that Auburn and LSU has throughout this pre-conference schedule. And I think that the offense will be a little bit more from both teams than we've seen so far this season, but I do think Auburn gets the win at home. That being said, can't take too much away, but it's a win-win situation for me because either LSU is going to go in there and get a big win, or they're going to take away a lesson they can use for the rest of SEC play.
LSU also needs to keep Auburn off the offensive glass because Auburn's crushed LSU on the offensive glass the last two times out. Last year, Auburn had 18 offensive rebounds that resulted in 21 second chance points. The year before that, they had 17 offensive rebounds. Kessler, Smith, those guys are going to try and just crash the glass. Blitzkrieg LSU on the glass. You're going to need big games from Efton Reed. You're going to need big games from Darius Days down low and Wani Wilkinson as well. Looking at that matchup of Kessler and Reed, man, it's going to be a tough challenge for the freshman of LSU facing a true 7-footer, 7'1", 240. Is Walker Kessler. You mentioned what Auburn does in block shots. He's the reason why. The man has blocked 46 shots in 12 games. That is tops in the SEC and top 5 in all of college basketball. You're going to have to step up on the glass, and that's an area that Will Wade has definitely harped on here as of late. And I'm with you. Don't be a hero. Live ball turnovers. We've talked about it, haven't we? Allow live ball turnovers in that place. They get out and run, slam it home, and my God, the roof's going to blow off of Auburn Arena. So it's going to be a tough environment, tough test for LSU. I like LSU +4, +4.5. I'm with you, though. I think they come up just a tick short in this game, but it's going to be a heck of a basketball game. I'm still going under. I'll go under 143.5, and especially if it continues to climb. People certainly seem to think this one's going to go over. I understand. You look at the last two games with LSU and Auburn, there's been a lot of points scored, but the defenses are better this time around. 104-80 or somewhere around there was last year, and then 91-90 was the year prior in overtime. So a lot of points the last two times, better defenses this time. I do trend towards the under. Also, LSU 10-2 against the spread so far this year, 10-2 to the under as well. So I like Tigers plus the 4.5, but to come up short outright, and I like them under the 143.5.
Arguably the two best teams in the SEC getting together tonight inside of Auburn Arena, 6 o'clock tip between Auburn and LSU. Auburn enters tonight's game on an 8-game winning streak. LSU is the last remaining unbeaten team in the SEC. Also, 11 NBA scouts going to be at that game.
They'll have a show to see between Jabari Smith, between Darius Days, Walker Kessler. I mean, the talent that's actually on this floor tonight in this game is just another reason to get excited. You know those names, but think about an Efton Reed. Think about Atari Eason, Jalen Williams from Auburn. There's so much talent on that floor tonight in this game. And, man, prime time, ESPN 2. Here we go. Let's get it started.
Mario Jerez alongside Matt Musso here on a Wednesday edition of Early Line. We'll come back and preview the bowl games on deck for tonight on the other side of this break. This is the Early Line on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Early Line with Mario and Musso. 104.5 ESPN. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who miss the fairway all day and still pull out the big stick, the type of guys who will always prefer to be behind the grill than in front of the camera, and the men who never let their friends forget about a high school nickname. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Who wants to settle for a single TV?
Further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
If home is where the heart is, a roof is a shield. That's why for over 25 years, South Louisiana always turns to Garcia Roofing and Sheet Metal. For more information, visit Garcia Did My.
Hey, it's Musso. Join us for Wednesday's AFR presented by Pluckers. Matt's still on vacation. Mario and I host the show. We'll
You're getting the early line with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Got some scoring going on in Yankee Stadium right now, Mario. Maryland up 21-10 over Virginia Tech with about a minute or so left until the half in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl. That's the first bowl game today. Earlier game between SMU, that game was canceled because of COVID. SMU and ECU ended up being canceled because of COVID. So this is the first bowl game of the day. We have two more to follow it, that being the Alamo Bowl. That's the late one between Oregon and Oklahoma, and the Cheez-It Bowl between Clemson and Iowa State. Dive into both of those here in this segment, get you a pick and some plays on those. But first, some bowl game trends, Mario, so far. So I mentioned New Era Pinstripe Bowl is going on now. This is the 21st bowl game. So of the previous 20, favorites have the edge against the spread 12-8. The over has the advantage to the total at 12-8. Also, favorites straight up, though, 14-5. So they're not covering each game, but man, the favorites have really come out on top here so far in the bowl game. So 12-8 favorites against the spread, 14-5 straight up, and the total 12-8 so far towards the over.
So from a betting perspective, pretty even, 12-8 for the favorites, 12-8 for the total as well. We'll have to see what the record is against the spread, but the SEC right now I know is 0-4 straight up in bowl games.
They're 0-4 straight up.
Well.
State did not cover last night because they were 9.5-point favorites, so we know that. Auburn did not cover. They were that closed consensus at a 2. Well, no, consensus it closed Houston,
Florida, as
the favorite, by 2. So they covered that with the 3. So that'd be 0-2. Florida was favored. They lost. That's 0-3. And God help me out. Who was the other SEC team that already played? Mizzou. Missouri covered the spread, but they lost outright. So 1-3 against the spread to the closing lines. Or the SEC so far 0-4 straight up. For what it's worth, this game, Maryland was your favorite. They're winning. And with 31 points already scored in the first half, it's probably trending towards the over in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl as well. But again, Virginia Tech has the Yankee logo on the side of their helmet. They deserve to lose off that. And really, if you're going to wear the New York Yankee logo, probably shouldn't do that in postseason if recent history is any indication there. But we'll move on to football that we care about and start with the Cheez-It Bowl. Clemson, 1.5-point favorites over Iowa State. Total in this one, 44.5. Real interesting, man. Breece Hall is the opt-out for Iowa State. Clemson, they've had a lot of injuries, and they're missing some coaches. Tony Elliott off to a head coaching job. Brent Venables off to a head coaching job. Dabo's promoted from within, but how ready are those guys to take the reins in this game? That's going to be something to look at. Clemson against the spread this year, it has not been great. Hell, how many times did we go against them in our picks this year, Mario? Yeah. It was a lot. They made us a lot of money, those Clemson Tigers. DJ Uiagalelei really never got going. The running game really never got going, but that defense, that Clemson defense, has been really, really strong all year, and despite injuries, number 2 scoring defense in the country.
Yeah, they do lose their leader, like you mentioned, with Venerables, which is significant. And you're right, we did have a lot of fun fading Clemson in the show, and they started 0-7 against the spread. But they have covered in 4 out of their last 5 games, and they did have a pretty good win against Wake Forest, I must say, 48-27, where for the first time all season, it felt like both sides of the ball kind of came together. Iowa State also kind of underachieved. If you would have counted Iowa State as like a trendy pick, this could have been like a potential playoff matchup for some people.
I was about to say kind of underachieved.
Yeah, they're number 6 in the nation.
I think they woefully underachieved.
Yeah, number 6 in the nation.
7-5? Oh.
Yeah. A lot of people thought they were a little overrated coming into the season. Muso's like me. I'm a lot of people. But they did underachieve, and Breece Hall not being there is going to be big. There's kind of conflicting opinions about Purdy, the quarterback. Some people think he's really good. Some people think he's one of the most overrated players in college football. And you can make the same argument about their coach, Matt Campbell, who has drawn a lot of interest from some NFL jobs as well as some college head coaching jobs. And he has not really coached the standard, in my opinion, this season for Iowa State. So both teams have to be not too happy to be here. If you're forcing me to make a pick, I honestly might go with Iowa State just because I think Clemson's really broken right now. It's going to be really hard for Dabo to motivate his team for this game, especially after all the flux that they've experienced. And losing Brett Venables, man, that's huge for the Clemson program going forward.
Motivation has to be considered for Clemson. It just does. This is a team that now is used to its season ending in the playoff, either with a loss or hoisting the trophy, but it's ending in the playoff, and now it's not. Iowa State, man, they had lofty expectations, and here they are in the Cheez-It Bowl, but that's coming off of New Year's 6. I still think they're maybe a little bit more motivated Clemson would like to finish 10-3. You mentioned what they did against the spread. 4 of their last 5. I was on them for a couple of those, actually switched and went with Clemson. That's because of the defenses they were facing. Wake Forest defense is not good. Okay, they're bad. Wake Forest give up 400 yards to anybody. Clemson also beaten UConn. UConn would give up 400, maybe 500 yards to anybody. Iowa State had the number 10 total defense in the country. So they're going to be able to play a little bit with Clemson. What bothers me most about Iowa State is they don't have Breece Hall. He's their best player on offense. You mentioned Brock Purdy. I'm one of the people with my hands in the air that I think he's overrated. I don't think he's very good. So that does concern me. But motivation's a factor for Clemson, especially now that you've lost those 2 coordinators. I'm probably staying away from a side here. If I had to pick, I'd probably lean Iowa State, but I'm staying away from a side. I like the under in this one, which flies straight in the face of, I know the overs have it so far, but with Clemson, the number 2 scoring defense in the country, Iowa State, the top 10, number 10 total defense in the country, against Clemson's offense that's going to struggle. You don't have Breece Hall. That offense is going to struggle. I like under 44.5 in the game. That's the play I'd go with.
Yeah,
in the Cheez-It Bowl.
I'd probably go over because, like I said, there's a lot of unknown with this kind of stuff, and people always get mad when players like Breece Hall opt out, but it opens up opportunities for others, and you never know if somebody could take advantage of that. So I could see a little bit more offense in this game, but I do like Iowa State to pull the upset.
Here's the late one: Oregon and Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl. Sooners have it at 6.5 in favor of them. Opt-outs galore. Coaches missing this. A name brand game for sure, but man, it's just strange when you look at it. So Kayvon Thibodeau opt out for Oregon. Their leading receiver opt out. There's a couple more on defense that I have to find in a minute. But Oklahoma, they're missing 4 starters on defense. Opt out everywhere. Mario Cristobal, he's in Miami, interim head coach at Oregon. Lincoln Riley, we very well know, he's at USC. Bob Stoops, interim head coach there. All the opt-outs on defense, I think you're going to see some points in this game, Mario. Over 63.5, looking pretty darn nice. And I'll be honest, I like Oklahoma to cover the 6.5 too.
I'm with you. We're agreeing a lot today. I like Oklahoma to cover on the spread. And like you said, a lot of opt-outs in this game, but 2 guys that aren't opting out are the quarterbacks. Anthony Brown for Oregon and Caleb Williams for Oklahoma. And for Oklahoma, I think having Bob Stoops there is really going to give that team a jolt, man. That program, that fan base was really down when Lincoln Riley left to take the USC job. And it was almost like Stoops was like, I don't know, like a cool uncle, like sitting there telling them everything's going to be okay. I'm not always going to be here, but the next guy's going to carry what we got going on. And in the meantime, we're going to have some fun. We're going to hopefully whoop Oregon's butt in this bowl game. So I do like Oklahoma. And I think Caleb Williams playing in this game is a big deal because there was a lot of rumors about him potentially transferring out. For right now, it's not final, but for right now, he seems to be committed to Oklahoma, and him playing in this bowl game has to be a good sign. So I do think we'll see a lot of offense in this game. I like Oklahoma to win and to cover, and I like the over.
Alex Grinch, defensive coordinator for Oklahoma, also at USC. That's noteworthy as well for that Sooner defense. The defensive players I've missed on Oregon who are out are corners. Mikael Wright, he opted out for the NFL. DJ James transferred. So you're missing 2 corners. And Kayvon Thibodeau, who could be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. I like a lot of points here in this game tonight, and for it to go over the 63.5. I had one more point I wanted to make about Oklahoma. Bob Stoops. I think having Bob Stoops as the interim head coach is perfect. I mean, that guy is a national championship winning coach who can come out of retirement here, coach this one game, stabilize everything for Oklahoma. I think it's a great fit. I think that's exactly who you want in a time of turmoil like this. When you're facing a team also who's going up against kind of the same thing, he can stabilize your program potentially more than Oregon can stabilize there. So I like Bob Stoops, and I like the Sooners offense over the Oregon offense. Points over the total. And give me Oregon minus a 6.5 as well. Oklahoma minus a 6.5.
So Bob Stoops apparently has a business partnership with the tequila company. And when he was talking to the press earlier this week, they asked him if he'd like to be doused with tequila after this game if Oklahoma won. And his response, Musa, was that would be okay. What's the administration going to do? Fire me?
Look, I like that. What are you going to do? Fire me? I will say this. Mario, you know this about me. I love tequila. That's a good waste of tequila to do that. That's not the purpose of it. Now, if Bob Stoops wants to take tequila shots on the sideline after the game, if they win, I'm in favor of that. But don't waste the tequila.
That would be more realistic. Same principle. What are they going to do? Fire me?
Yeah, what are they going to do? Fire me?
I'm still coaching a football game in 2021.
Exactly. Guess what? When the next coach leaves for another job, when Britton Venables leaves for another job, or you fire him, you'll call me back, and I'll interim head coach again. So those are your picks for bowl slate today. Come back. One more segment here on Early Line. Wrap it up next. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Early Line. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Guarantee Podcast Network, powered by PreSonus, presents Scone and Tea with Matt Moscona and T-Bob Hebert, covering the good, the bad, and the ugly of LSU football twice a week. Listen now by following at Guarantee Podcast Network on Facebook and Instagram, and at Guarantee Pods on Twitter.
TV and internet are out all over town, and you're on your backhoe staring at a hole in the ground. Could have used a shovel to clear the last few inches of dirt, but you were in a hurry. Could have been worse. There's a gas line in 20,000 volts a little farther down.
Think about it. Call Louisiana 811 before you dig so the site can be marked. It's free and it's the law. Louisiana 811. Call or click before you dig.
If you have erectile dysfunction, it's likely you've at least thought about getting treated. But how do you know where to get treated, and what are the best treatment options for you? This is Jeff for the Baton Rouge Men's Clinic, and I can confidently say that we're the best option for ED treatment in the area. Here's the thing. ED is a disease, and depending on the cause of your ED, differing treatment protocols may be required. But a shockwave-only group isn't going to offer treatment options. They can't. And online pill pharmacies aren't going to tell you about other options that might be more effective for you. They want to sell you pills. That's the difference with us. We're going to get you the right treatment for your medical situation so you get the results you want. In fact, our treatments could have you lasting for an hour to an hour and a half or more and give you back the full performance that you desire. So give us a call today and make an appointment. For just $99, you'll get a consult, blood work, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call us today at 225-323-8000. That's 225-323-8000, or go to BatonRougeMen'sClinic.com.
Bayou Ford has 0% for 60 months on new Ford F-150. Bayou Ford.
As I always told my boys, do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops? I'll take a little cheese.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Yo, Jake here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic. The place is going to be convenient for you during that inconvenient time, and it's even more convenient now. Now you have 8 convenient locations, with the Bruley location just opening up. So go check them out online, patientplusuc.com, because remember, they are your place for your sniffles, for your colds, for your stitches, for your COVID test. They have all that available over at Patient Plus. For more information, visit them at patientplusuc.com. Get in and get better.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have
The LSU Auburn SEC opener at 6 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Early Line with Mario and Musso. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up a Wednesday edition of Early Line, talking a little bit of New Orleans Saints. The black and gold, a 6.5-point favorite against the Panthers this Sunday, or 7-point favorite, depending on where you look. The Saints hosting the Panthers, looking to avenge a 26-7 loss in Charlotte earlier this year. New Orleans is looking to avoid their first season sweep to Carolina since 2015. That was during the 7-9 days. Not fun. Let's not go back to that. Sam Darnold has been named the starter at quarterback by head coach Matt Rule. He has already beat the Saints this season, Musso, but he also kind of fell off a cliff after that, and he got booed by his own fans last week when he went in the game to replace Cam Newton. So they have seen Sam Darnold before. I think the Saints are a much different team. They were missing some coaches during that game, and they do have Carolina at home. So this is one that the Saints have to get if they want to stay alive in that playoff race.
And Sam Darnold's completing just over 58% of his passes so far this season, for just over 2,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. The start he got off to, not indicative of where he is now. It's been a revolving door at quarterback in Carolina this year, man, to say the least. I mean, it could have been Cam Newton. I mean, the most logical are Cam Newton or Sam Darnold for the Saints, but I mean, P.J. Williams has even been in there. So, or excuse me, P.J. Walker. P.J. Williams plays for the Saints. P.J. Walker. First and foremost for New Orleans, get healthy. Man, you had COVID problems the last time you played the Panthers. It was just on the coaching staff. Now it's on the team. You got 2 guys back yesterday. Juwan Johnson, who was the first to test positive, is out of the protocols and back. And then Malcolm Jenkins also back. Deontay Harris back from his suspension, but still on the COVID list. So only 2 back of the 22 so far. Hopefully you get more in the coming days.
Yeah, they're going to need to. They're going to need to get healthy, not just for this game, but throughout the course of the season or what's left. The Panthers, I believe, are mathematically eliminated. If
they
not,
are, yes.
Okay, well, they are physically and literally not going to the playoffs this year, but Matt Rule is trying to build at least a little bit of momentum for next year. And for Sam Darnold, this is a huge opportunity. He did play really badly towards the back end, but he also did get injured during that time. This is an opportunity for him to maybe audition, if not for the Panthers, for his next team. But the bad news is he's going up against a New Orleans defense that, like you said, is getting healthier. At least you get Malcolm Jenkins back in the fold. And I love this matchup, Moose. So the first time these two teams played, I think they scripted their first couple of drives really good with Joe Brady, but they were also taking advantage of the Saints being shorthanded. And this defense has gotten a lot better. That offense, including that quarterback carousel that you were talking about, has really regressed.
And how about this, Mario? One more from a gambling note. We talked earlier, or going into the game against the Dolphins, the total was 37.5, and we were wondering aloud, man, when's the last time there was a total in the 30s in the Sean Payton era? And we found, well, it was Denver the previous year when they were starting a receiver at quarterback. You got another one this week, 38.5 in this game.
How you feeling?
Like under. I mean, the Panthers, as bad as the offense has been, the defense has still been pretty good. 23 points per game allowed and 319 yards. They've still been pretty good.
Okay. They're missing some key guys too, but they have been pretty good. During this losing streak, they're trying to kind of carry the water for the offense, which has just been putrid. And the key for the Saints is just going to have to be getting healthy, man. At least you hopefully will get Deontay Harris back. He's still on the list, but he is coming off of his suspension. You have a couple of days still, so hopefully it gets a little better for the Saints health-wise. But avoiding the sweep is a big deal too. 2015, I remember those games, Musso. The Saints defense was so bad back then, and it makes you think about how far the secondary has come because they've been one of the better groups in the NFL.
They have been. I mean, and that was massive to at least keep most of that intact. Remember when it was the biggest question mark?
Yeah, for years.
Yeah.
Throughout those 3 years and when they went 7-9, so it's kind of crazy.
And even coming into this year, though, man, it was like, man, the Saints got to go pick up a cornerback. They got to pick up a cornerback in free agency. Well, Bradley Roby, Paulson Adebo shows up. Marshawn Lattimore's pretty good. You still got Malcolm Jenkins, CD. It's kind of turned into the strength of the defense.
Yeah, I do have one small concern about Adebo. We only had 20 seconds left in this show, but the good news is we have 3 hours still coming up because we're filling in for Matt for AFR. So I'll tell you what that is next show. Sound good?
It sounds great.
Stay tuned. Mario Jerez alongside Matt Musso wrapping up a Wednesday edition of Early Line.